The top stories tonight in Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte orders the complete termination of the Philippines-China joint oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines trial courts will no longer accept petitions for domestic adoption. Motorists should expect heavy traffic in Manila this weekend due to road closures. And in the midst of a fierce national debate over the issue, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned a New York law restricting gun carrying rights. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, June 24, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts. First in the news, the Philippines decided to end all talks on joint oil and gas exploration with China in the West Philippine Sea, while a group of fishermen urges President-elect Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s incoming administration to pursue an independent foreign policy. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The Philippines has ended discussions with China about joint oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea, said Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. He revealed this was on President Rodrigo Duterte's instruction. Secretary Locsin added that he had tried for 3 years to come to an agreement with China to facilitate oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea, but the official had not achieved his objective, not at the cost of sovereignty. The top diplomat said it is now on the next administration to protect Philippine sovereignty. The Philippines signed a memorandum of understanding with China in 2018 to cooperate on oil and gas development in the midst of a maritime dispute in the West Philippine Sea. The complete termination confirmed the two countries reached a deadlock, said Attorney J. Batong Bakal, director of the University of the Philippines Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea. While the group of fisher folks in the country, better known as Pamalakaya, challenges the next administration to reveal their foreign policy programs. Concrete actions are necessary to protect our sovereignty and peacefully resolve the Chinese aggression on the West Philippine Sea, said Pamalakaya spokesperson Ronel Arambulo.
Sa pamamagitan ng pagtataguyod na nagsasariling patakarang panlabas at nakabase sa mutual na pagkilala sa mga karapatang panteritoryo, patrimonya at soberanya ng kada bansa.
Tensions between the Philippines and China over the disputed territory have intensified, with the Philippines lodging over 300 diplomatic protests against Chinese incursion in the country's sovereignty. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, advises motorists to avoid the venue for President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s inauguration. The agency also released a list of roadways to avoid. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
About 1 million people are expected to attend President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s inauguration at the National Museum in Manila. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority expects heavy traffic in the area, especially on Padre Burgos Avenue, where the venue is located, and on its adjacent roads. Padre Burgos, Finance Road, Maria Orosa Street from TM Calao to Padre Burgos, and General Luna from Padre Burgos to Moralia Street will be closed to traffic on Sunday, June 26. Road closures will also be implemented in Minjola Street on June 29 and 30. While vehicles will be refused to pass in Ayala Boulevard, Victoria Street from Taft Avenue to Moralia Street, and Halandones Street in the Philippine International Convention Center or PICC area in Pasay City on June 30 at 4 a.m., which will be followed by the closure of Legada Street from San Rafael to Figuera Street and CM Recto Avenue from SH Loyola to Mendiola at 1 p.m. onwards. Trucks proceeding to Manila Port area from southern Luzon may utilize Quirino Avenue, Nagtahan, Lacson Avenue, Yuseco Street, and Radial Road 10 in Manila Port area. However, truck may still pass through Rojas Boulevard until June 29, while light vehicles may utilize Rojas Boulevard but should take TM Calao or UN Avenue as its endpoint.
So we will provide kasi ng dedicated lane for our VIPs, mga visitors coming from other countries, kaya medyo may challenge sa security. That's the reason na at the end of the meeting the other day it was decided that to have them diverted to other routes.
The MMDA will deploy about 2,000 personnel to man the area and make sure of the continuous flow of vehicles. The agency also asks individuals physically attending the event to not use cars in going to the venue, as there is no designated parking area for them. They may opt instead to go to the National Museum via the Light Rail Transit Line 1 through the Central Station. Motorists are advised to avoid these areas and take alternative routes.
But the best thing is iwas na lang sila mismo sa area, dahil talagang pag that particular day, even before the day, talagang grabe ang traffic dyan sa area.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police will activate the Task Force Manila Shield 2 days before President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s inauguration. Leah Ilagan reports why.
The Philippine National Police would like to ensure the safety of President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos' inauguration on June 30. PNP Directorate for Operations Director, Police Major General Val de Leon said they will implement strict chalkpoint and checkpoint to be performed by Task Force Manila Shield.
Magkakaroon tayo ng mga checkpoints all over Metro Manila where the exit or entries and exit particularly ay ating titingnan kung ano ba yung mga purpose mo dito. While we recognize itong pag-travel ninyo, pero ating sisitahin kung anong activity ang gagawin dito sa Maynila.
De Leon encouraged the public to use transparent bag if they need to go near the National Museum.
Imagine mo na pag ikaw ay nandoon sa inspection area at pakpak ang dala mo dyan na hindi see-through, ay maraming pagbubusisi ang gagawin ng ating mga kapulisan. No? Parang kung ikaw ay see-through o plastic, yung kitang-kita mo yung loob, ay maaaring mas mapabilis ang pagpasok at mas safe ang lahat.
He also reminded the public about the gun ban, which will go into effect on June 27 at 12:01 in the morning in Metro Manila. Leah Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
According to a recent survey of social weather stations, several Filipino adults still believe their quality of life will improve in the next 12 months. Out of the 1,440 respondents, 44% say their quality of life will improve, 39% say there will be no change, and 4% say it will worsen in the next 12 months. Meanwhile, 13% of respondents didn't give any answer. The survey was conducted by SWS from April 19 to 27 with face-to-face interviews. The Department of the Interior and Local Government and the Cebu Local Government Unit have settled to form guidelines on the face mask policy in the province. Both the DILG and Cebu LGU are conducting meetings and dialogues amid the controversial executive order which made the wearing of face masks optional. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said they are waiting for the implementing rules and regulations in the lifting of the mask rule in the province from the Cebu government.
And for the news abroad, the United States Supreme Court overturned a New York law that forbid residents from carrying firearms in public unless they have a special need for self-defense, while supporters warn that invalidating the restrictions may lead to more gun on the streets. Beverly Saison will tell us why.
According to the Supreme Court, New York's concealed carry law violates American Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. The court's ruling says residents have the right to carry handguns in public for self-defense. Concealed carry laws in other states like California, Hawaii, and Delaware may also be struck down as a result of this ruling. The decision comes in the wake of recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, Uvalde, Texas, and other parts of the U.S. The decision received mixed reviews across the political spectrum.
The Supreme Court of the United States of America has stripped away the state of New York's right and responsibility to protect its citizens with a decision which we are still digesting, which is frightful in its scope of how they are setting back this nation.
Critics say the Supreme Court ruling is at odds with recently passed bipartisan Safer Communities Act, a nationwide gun control legislation. If passed into law, the bill will impose sweeping restrictions on gun ownership to better prevent dangerous people from owning firearms. Beverly Saison, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Dangerous amount of active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs were found in about 43.5% or 461 sites out of 1,052 sampling locations monitored across 104 countries, according to a study published in Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry. Researchers discovered 23 APIs, such as substances from antidepressant, antimicrobial, antihistamine, benzodiazepine, and painkiller, exceeding the safe concentration level. It has been previously documented through studies that antidepressants have negative effects on fish behavior. The study concludes that pharmaceutical pollution is a global problem that is likely harmful to the health of the world's rivers. Alejandra Buozas Monroy, co-author of the publication, said in a statement that pharmaceutical pollution affects a high proportion of rivers around the world and that more needs to be done to prevent these substances from polluting the environment. The World Health Organization, or WHO, is discussing whether to declare monkeypox a global threat, but scientists and a global health expert thought otherwise. Ryuji Sasaki reports why live. Yes, Ryuji, good evening.
Good evening, Kath. Many scientists do not believe that declaring monkeypox a global threat will help end the epidemic, since the developed countries with the most recent cases of monkeypox are already trying to stop it. Salim Abdul Karim, an epidemiologist and vice chancellor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, said they were able to control the disease through simple measures like surveillance and isolating patients. David Fiedler, a senior in global health at the Council of Foreign Relations, said that declaring the disease a global emergency would worsen the divide between the rich and the poor, as seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. WHO may have legal reasons for warning now that it has spread outside Africa, but to the poor countries, it will appear to be a double standard. The disease was identified as unusual and concerning by the WHO Director General, with more than 40 countries affected, mostly in Europe. Africa, which had battled the tropical disease for decades, reported a fatality rate of 10% of people infected by one version of the virus. This year alone, 62 deaths were reported in Africa. The fatality rate in Europe, on the other hand, is less than 1%. Kath?
Thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, for that live report. As its fifth wave of COVID-19 fades, South Africa repeals its health regulations under the National Health Act, which was implemented last May. Therese Longbowen will tell us why live. Therese?
Good evening, Kath. The decision to repeal the COVID-19 restrictions in South Africa was due to Health Ministry's observation of the small fifth wave of COVID-19 dissipating quickly, according to Minister of Health Joe Pahla.
By mid-June, the situation had taken a very positive direction with decline in daily cases, a decline in hospitalizations, a decline in positivity rate, a decline in the reproductive number of the extent to which the virus replicates and infects the next person, and also decline in the reported deaths.
The COVID-19 rules approved to be lifted include wearing of masks indoors, limitation on numbers in both indoor and outdoor gatherings, and vaccination proof in these gatherings, as well as proof of vaccination and negative PCR result at the ports of entry. The health minister added that though COVID-19 is still around, the citizens are stronger due to vaccination, natural immunity from variants, and the 5 waves of the virus the country experienced. With this, he encouraged qualified South Africans to get vaccinated or take booster shots of the vaccine, which will be part of the country's primary health services.
Going forward, the vaccination program will remain and is now being integrated into the normal health services as part of our primary health services.
South Africa is the country with the highest confirmed COVID-19 cases in the continent of Africa, recording more than 3.9 million infections and 101,000 deaths. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Therese Longbowen, for that live report. We'll tell you more global stories later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Kath. The newly established Department of Migrant Workers Secretary-designate plans to strengthen the government's measures, punishing those who take advantage of overseas Filipino workers. Ray Pelayo reports.
Overseas Filipino workers, especially domestic helpers, are at risk of being abused by recruitment agencies or even their employer. This is why the newly established Migrant Workers Department, through the initiative of incoming Secretary Susan Ople, plans to form a task force that will prosecute and penalize those who violated the rights and dignity of OFWs.
So, ang isang pinakaunang order na nasa isip ko, magtatayo tayo ng task force on human trafficking and illegal recruitment. Gagamitin natin yung batas ng ibang bansa para ma-prosecute yung mga foreign employers o foreign, yung mga nandun sa bansa na yun na ang tingin sa bawat, lalo na sa mga kasambahay, mga OFWs natin, mga alipin. Ayun, ayoko yun.
And to ensure that the repatriation program for the OFW will become more successful, OPLE plans to establish a One Repat Center. Many say that the repatriation effort now goes through different channels such as the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration and the OFW's employer. But OPLE wants the procedure as seamless as possible.
Gusto namin isang command center lang for repatriation. And meron doon na sasagot sa tanong ng mga pamilya.
Automation of transactions in the agency is also one of the priority of the incoming official with the help of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. OPLE believes that it will lessen the burden of applicants and make it easier for them to process their documents. But as OPLE wants Filipinos to stay in the country, still more Filipinos want to take the risk of going abroad in the hope of securing financial support for their family.
Timbangin nyo yung desisyon, hindi madali, iwan ang bunso, iwan ang lola, iwan ng asawa. So, kung balak nyo mag-abroad, sana desisyon ng pamilya, hindi lang desisyon ng isang tao. Pangalawa, sana may plano. Malinaw na plano. Pag may remittance, huwag lahat ibuo sa pamilya. Magsubi para sa pagtanda mo rin o para pag magkasakit ka.
Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The cabinet of President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is forming with some members from the Duterte administration. A political analyst believes that the selected officers are all capable of facing the pandemic challenges. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
A political analyst, Professor Ramon Casiple, sees no problem with the personalities selected by President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to join his cabinet. All incoming officials appear to be competent, according to Casiple.
Kombinasyon ito ng mga magagaling sa kanilang pananaw, ano? At saka yung may alam na sa takbo ng national government.
Casiple identified former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile and incoming Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno as Marcos Jr.'s best picks. Enrile was appointed as Presidential Legal Counsel.
Mayroon na silang mga sariling ideya kahit na wala pa sila dyan ngayon sa binabalak na kabinet. Ano? Ako tingin ko, pwedeng pagbigyan yan. Ano? Tingnan natin kung ano yung talagang magiging accomplishment. Pero ang hirap pa magsabi ng tapos yan eh. Hindi pa natin alam kung ano yung binabalak eh.
The office of President-elect Marcos announced new cabinet appointments yesterday. One of them is former Philippine Airlines President Jaime Bautista, who will be in charge of the Department of Transportation. Marcos Jr. has not yet announced who will lead the critical agencies such as the Department of Health, Energy, and Foreign Affairs. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A lawmaker in the lower house is optimistic that the SOGI bill will have a better chance in the next Congress. Arlene Delgado will tell us why.
Geraldine Roman, 1st District Representative of Bataan, is expecting the Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity and Expression or SOGI Equality Bill to get the nod of both houses in the 19th Congress. In an interview with PolitiScoop, the lawmaker says she is optimistic with the commitment of support of House Majority Leader and presumptive House Speaker Martin Romualdez. The Solon is also hopeful with her allies in the Senate, the expected next Senate President, Senate Majority Leader Mig Zubiri and Senator Amy Marcos. During the campaign period, Roman was able to raise this with President-elect Bongbong Marcos and said that the incoming president is supportive of such measure.
He said that he is against discrimination. He said that all Filipinos, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, should be provided equal opportunities, equal rights, and equal protection under the law. So that says a lot.
Roman says she will refile the SOGI Equality Bill as well as a separate anti-discrimination bill in the next Congress.
Nais kong paalala sa lahat na mga nakikinig ngayong umaga na walang mababawas sa inyong mga karapatan kung kikilalanin nyo na mga LGBTQ+, ay meron din karapatang mag-aral, magtrabaho, tumanggap ng serbisyo mula sa pamahalaan at tumanggap ng proteksyon.
Senator Risa Hontiveros earlier said that she will refile the bill in the Senate and the 19th Congress. The prior Congress ended with a bill pending second reading in the upper chamber and its version still at the committee level in the lower chamber. During the 17th Congress, it was able to hurdle the third and final reading in the House of Representatives, but it faced oppositions from several senators. Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court and the National Authority for Child Care, or NACC, urged those with pending adoption cases to withdraw their petitions. Dante Amento tells us why.
The Supreme Court reiterated in a revised rules on adoption released last Monday June 20 that beginning January 28 or upon the effective date of Republic Act 11642, that court will no longer accept domestic adoption petitions, and jurisdiction over domestic adoption is now on the newly created National Authority for Child Care or NACC, an attached agency of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. All pending adoption petitions in court should be withdrawn and filed with the NACC or its regional offices.
At yun namang mga nakapending na mga cases, regardless of status, ito ay maaaring bagong file pa lang or medyo may katagalan na ng file. So, may option ang mga petitioner to withdraw ito at ilipat nila sa NACC ang process ng adoption kung gusto nilang ma-avail yung benefits ng RA 11642.
Courts will give petitioners time to manifest their intention to withdraw their petitions, the High Tribunal added. Glenda Rilova, NACC Executive Director Undersecretary, stressed that this will speed up the domestic adoption process.
So kami dito sa NAC, we won't be accepting petition ng mga dating nasa court na without the order na withdraw ng petitioner ito sa court.
This is the real purpose of Republic Act 11642, signed by President Rodrigo Duterte last January 2022 to remove the judicial process that has made legal adoption long and expensive in the past. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Household workers in Metro Manila and other regions in the country will get higher wages after the approval of the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board. Eileen Cerudo has the report.
Household workers in the National Capital Region will have their monthly salary increased by 1,000 pesos. Around 200,000 household workers will benefit from the wage increase, according to the Department of Labor and Employment.
Bringing the monthly take-home of our kasambahays in the National Capital Region to 6,000 pesos a month. This will benefit an estimated 200,000 kasambahays in the National Capital Region, about 60% of which are live-in kasambahays in the NCR.
Wage increase will also be implemented in Cordillera Administrative Region, Ilocos Region, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Mimaropa, and Bicol Region. The Western, Central, and Eastern Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, Davao Region, and Caraga also have a minimum wage hike. Dole warns employers who will not abide in the approved wage increase of household workers.
May rule ang NWPC dyan, non-payment of the prescribed minimum wage ay subject sa penalty. Meron po mga penalty dyan. Bukod sa penalty, meron ding provision.
The wage increase will be in effect 15 days after it is released in publications. Household workers can also file complaints with the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board or the local labor department if their employers do not comply with the approved wage increase. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The European Union unanimously agreed to give the embattled country Ukraine a chance to be a member of the EU. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Yes, Joselito?
Good evening, Kath. In order to pull Ukraine further away from Russia's influence and bind it more closely to the West, the European Union agreed Thursday to give Ukraine a candidate status toward EU membership. Ukraine's application for membership was sent less than a week after Moscow invaded on February 24. The decision for approval also includes Moldova and was fast for the EU based on their usual go-slow approach to expansion. But the war and Ukraine's request for fast-track consideration gave the cause urgency. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a tweet that Ukraine's future is within the EU. The main benefits of membership includes access to a market of 450 million consumers with labor, goods, services, and capital and free movement. European leaders also discuss immediate support for Ukraine, with European Commission set to submit a proposal to grant new financial aid of up to 9 billion euros soon. While Russian President Vladimir Putin demanded that Ukraine never be allowed to join NATO organization, there was no immediate reaction from Kremlin. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that live report. Australia's new Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will be heading to Paris to repair the Australia-French relationship. Marvi Delfin will give us the details live. Marvi?
Kath, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will meet with French President Emmanuel Macron next week to reset the two nations' relationship after a diplomatic rift. The previous government's decision to terminate the contract to build 12 submarines with France threatened the relationship. The government, now led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, agreed and announced a payment of $835 million to the French shipbuilder Naval Group earlier this month. France, according to Prime Minister Albanese, is a key power in the Pacific and Oceania regions, so paying the shipbuilder Naval Group was a necessity to keep the relationship nurtured. While the opposing government's leader, Peter Dutton, remains unapologetic about the previous government's decision, stating that the submarines would provide no national security. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Marvi Delfin, reporting live from Australia. According to a study, social stress prematurely ages our immune system. Jane Robles explains why live. Yes, Jane?
Good evening, Kath. Discrimination, family issues, and challenges with career and finances, according to a recent study, can hasten the aging of our immune system. Given that the immune system already deteriorates with age, this is a double whammy. Immune aging can cause cancer, heart disease, and other age-related health issues, as well as lessen the effectiveness of vaccination like COVID-19, said lead author Eric Klopak, a postdoctoral scholar at the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology at the University of California. He added that people with higher stress scores had older-seeming immune profiles, with lower percentages of fresh disease fighters and higher percentages of worn-out T cells. T cells are some of the body's most vital defenders, carrying out several functions like eliminating virus-infected and cancer cells, and cells that no longer divide but refuse to die, or zombie cells. Meanwhile, the study found the association between stressful life events and fewer naive T cells remained strong, even after controlling 4 factors such as education, smoking, drinking, weight, and race ethnicity. However, when poor diet and inactivity were included, some of the link between social stress levels and a determining immune system disappeared. Cass?
Thank you, Jane Robles, for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Maraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
The Health Department has reported an increase in dengue cases in Metro Manila. JP Nunez explains why.
The Health Department already recorded 4,491 admitted dengue patients from various institutions in NCR from January 1 to June 22 this year. It was said to be 7% more than the data from the same period last year.
We are seeing a slight increase compared to last year, 2021. We think that this is because of the increased mobility. Siyempre, nagbukas na yung ating mga kapaligiran, ekonomiya, dahil bumababa ang ating numbers ng COVID. So dahil sa interaction din ng mga tao, dumadami na rin yung dengue cases.
Health spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergere previously said that 14 out of 17 regions in the country have already exceeded the epidemic threshold. The regions with the most cases are Central Luzon, Central Visayas, and the Zamboanga Peninsula. The Department of Health reminisces the public to use the 4S strategy: search and destroy breeding locations, secure self-protection, seek early consultation, and support fogging or spraying in hotspot areas. In Valenzuela City, 33 barangays sign up for a synchronized cleanup drive.
Dalawang anak ko na po yung na-dengue last 2020. At least ma-prevent po ulit na maulit.
Linisin tapat ng bahay mo at yung basura mo itapon mo. Ay, may kantaron, di ba? Tama lang ganun gawin mo. Kasi nga, diyan pinamumugar ng dengue, yung mga basura na yun, tubig na ka na.
We hope the other local government units will also do the same para ma-highlight po sa kanya-kanyang komunidad yung importansya po nito na we're fighting COVID and we have to prevent dengue from being a problem also.
Dengue is a viral infection transmitted to humans through the bite of infected mosquitoes. It can cause high fever, headaches, rashes, and pain throughout the body. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International. And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 13 and 14. It says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil." Those are the reasons behind the news, June 24, 2022. Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. We serve the people, we give glory to God.